Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we are jumping into a book that, well, it's really reshaped the whole self-help world over the last decade or so.
Hal Elrod's 2012 bestseller, The Miracle Morning.
Exactly. Our mission today is to get past the bullet points and really dig into the architecture of this thing.
Yeah, to understand why it's had such a massive impact.
The core idea seems so simple. Just re-engineer your morning routine. But this simplicity is supposedly the key to unlocking this incredible growth, both personally and professionally.
And it all boils down to an acronym, SAVERS.
The 6 core practices, we'll get to those.
But you really can't talk about the book without talking about the author's story. It's incredible, and it's what gives the whole thing its weight.
Right, the context is everything here.
Hal Elrod was in a catastrophic car accident when he was 20. He was clinically dead for 6 minutes, in a coma.
Just a devastating trauma. And that wasn't even the end of his struggles, right?
Yeah, not at all. He recovered, rebuilt his entire life, became a really successful entrepreneur, and then the 2008 financial crash hit.
And it lost everything.
Wiped him out. So these two massive crises, one physical and one financial, they forged this core belief.
Bitches.
That your mindset, your daily habits, they matter so much more than your circumstances. That's the engine of the whole book.
So it's not about luck or talent. It's about intentional choices you can make every single day.
Exactly. So that's our mission today, to analyze the philosophy, the psychological principles holding it all together, and just how practical it really is.
Okay, so let's unpack that central idea. The claim is that how you wake up literally determines how you live. Why the morning, though?
Yeah, why is it so strategically important?
Right. Couldn't you just have a miracle afternoon or a really solid evening wind down?
Well, in this context, the morning is framed as a mechanism for self-mastery. It's the one part of the day you can almost guarantee will be yours, no interruptions.
Before the chaos of emails and meetings kicks in.
Exactly. And Elrod argues that what you do in that time creates keystone habits.
Ah, right. I've heard that term, like the central stone in an archway.
That's the perfect analogy. These are the habits that naturally trigger other positive changes in areas that seem totally unrelated.
So like if you exercise first thing in the morning?
You're suddenly more likely to eat a healthier lunch, you have more focus at work, you sleep better that night, it's a domino effect. Win the morning and you dramatically increase your odds of winning the day.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. You mentioned there's some real science backing this up.
Oh, absolutely. We can see at least 4 mechanisms at play. The first is what you might call neural activation. You're basically deciding which circuits in your brain get switched on first. By focusing on growth and positivity early, you're priming your brain for that all day.
You set the cognitive tone.
You do. Second is emotional regulation. When you start with, say, 5 minutes of quiet meditation instead of scrolling through frantic news alerts,
You're already calmer.
you're lowering your baseline cortisol level. Your stress response is just less reactive for the rest of the day.
I can see how behavioral consistency fits in here too. It's just easier to do something at the start of the day.
It's so much easier. Your willpower is a finite resource, right? It's at its peak in the morning before the day wears you down.
And what's the last one?
This one might be the most powerful: identity formation.
Okay.
Every time you choose to wake up and follow through on this routine, you are casting a vote for a new identity. You're not just doing disciplined things, you are becoming a disciplined person.
You start to see yourself as someone who is capable and growth-oriented.
Precisely. And that belief is what makes the habit stick long term.
So let's get into the SAVERS themselves, the actionable part.
Yeah.
Because, individually, these aren't new ideas.
Not at all. The genius is in the packaging and the synergy.
Okay, so first up, S for silence. This is meditation, deep breathing, just stillness.
Right. And it's a direct antidote to our modern, overstimulated world. You don't have to be a Zen master. Just 5 minutes of focusing on your breath.
It's about grounding yourself before the day pulls you in a million directions.
It is. It's about training your mind to respond, not just react.
Next, A for affirmations. Now, this is one I think a lot of people feel is a bit cheesy.
I get that. But Elrod is smart about this. He frames it not as wishful thinking, but as a technique straight out of cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT.
Which is all about reprogramming your thought patterns.
Exactly. So it's not about saying, I am wealthy 100 times. It's about identifying a limiting belief like I'm terrible at public speaking,
Right.
and actively reprogramming it with a statement about your preparation and competence.
You're rewiring the neural pathways associated with confidence.
That's the goal, which leads right into V for visualization.
The mental rehearsal.
Yeah, and again, this is used by elite athletes, surgeons, performers, everyone. Neuroscience shows that when you vividly imagine performing an action, your brain fires in almost the exact same way as when you're physically doing it.
It's like a practice run for your brain.
It is. It reduces anxiety and makes the actual performance feel familiar.
Then we have E for exercise. The benefits here seem pretty obvious.
They are, but the focus here is less on a grueling workout and more on just moving your body to wake up your mind.
Right. Increasing blood flow to the brain.
And even triggering neurogenesis, the creation of new brain cells. The key isn't intensity, it's consistency. 10 minutes is transformative.
Okay, next is R for reading. A simple one, but he calls it non-negotiable.
Because growth has to be cumulative. The idea is to read something, usually nonfiction, that gives you a new idea or skill you can apply that day.
10 pages a day doesn't sound like much.
But it adds up to dozens of books a year. You're committing to being a lifelong learner.
And finally, the second S, scribing.
Or journaling. This is all about metacognition.
Thinking about your thinking.
Exactly. Getting your thoughts out of your head and onto paper gives you incredible clarity. You can track goals, express gratitude, work through problems. It externalizes the internal chaos. What's so fascinating is how all of this aligns with established behavioral science, even if the book itself uses, very accessible language.
It's like a user-friendly guide to behavioral engineering.
Yeah.
But let's talk habit formation. For most people, the biggest hurdle is just waking up earlier. How does the system address that initial resistance?
By creating a really powerful cue routine reward loop. The alarm going off is the cue.
Okay.
The SAVRS stack is the routine, and the reward is immediate and intrinsic. It's that feeling of accomplishment, of clarity, of energy you get before 8 a.m.
That feeling of being ahead of the game is pretty powerful. It's almost addictive.
It is, and that feeds directly into the second principle we touched on, identity-based change. You stop seeing yourself as someone who is trying to be a morning person.
And start seeing yourself as someone who is a morning person. The behavior reinforces the identity.
You're no longer doing it just for the outcome. You're doing it because it's who you are.
And I guess all of this sets up the third principle, cognitive priming.
Right. You're preparing your brain for the day's challenges before distractions can even get a foothold. You're priming your attention, which helps reduce decision fatigue later on.
Okay, let's get practical. I can hear people thinking, 6 habits. I don't have an hour every morning for this.
And that's a huge point. The system's adaptability is probably the secret to its success.
So you don't have to do the full hour.
No. He has the Miracle Morning Hour, which is 10 minutes per practice, but he also created the 6-minute Miracle Morning.
6 minutes? Okay, now there are no excuses.
Pretty much. It's 1 minute of silence, 1 of affirmations, 1 of visualization, 1 minute of exercise like jumping jacks, 1 of reading, and 1 of scribing.
A microdose.
Exactly. The point isn't rigid perfection. The point is consistent intentionality. Doing something is infinitely better than doing nothing.
It's clear why this has resonated so widely. It feels achievable. But, no system is perfect. Let's look at some of the critiques.
For sure. The strengths are obvious. It's simple, it's holistic, it connects the mental, physical, and emotional.
But the biggest criticism you hear is the morning-centric bias.
That's a very valid one. The whole philosophy sort of ignores the existence of chronotypes.
Your natural biological clock. Your inner night owl or morning lark.
Right. If you are genetically wired to be a night owl, forcing yourself into a 5 a.m. routine might actually be counterproductive. It could just lead to sleep deprivation and burnout.
That makes sense. And what about people who are already struggling, say with burnout or depression? Can adding 6 more tasks to your day be overwhelming?
That's the potential rigidity critique. While the 6-minute version helps, the system does assume a certain baseline of energy and mental health. For someone who is struggling just to get out of bed, this can feel less like a lifeline and more like another stick to beat themselves with.
It demands discipline when what you might really need is just rest and self-compassion.
Well said. And then there is the final argument, the generality critique.
That none of this is new.
Yeah, that it's just a slick repackaging of ancient practices like meditation and journaling. And, well, that's not wrong, but you have to give credit to the power of the system itself. The organization, the acronym, the author's story, that's what turned a collection of good ideas into a global movement.
So at the end of the day, it's a response to a cultural need.
I think so. In an age of distraction, people are starving for structure, for a clear, actionable path to feel more in control of their lives, and this provides it. So if we pull this all together for you, the Miracle Morning is really a philosophy of intentional living. Its power isn't in its novelty, but in its brilliant organization of these timeless, science-backed practices into one simple daily system.
It really hammers home a universal truth.
Yeah.
That meaningful change doesn't come from some dramatic, life-altering event. It comes from small, intentional choices, compounded day after day.
It's about reclaiming that first hour.
Absolutely. Reclaiming control in those quiet moments before the world wakes up. And as you think about all this, here's a final thought for you to mull over. The system emphasizes that all growth is cumulative and incremental. So if these small habits can unlock such an extraordinary life, what existing non-negotiable micro-habit that you already do, maybe it's the sound of your alarm, the act of brushing your teeth, or pouring that first cup of coffee, what tiny moment could you use as a simple cue to anchor just one of these SAVERS practices into your day, starting tomorrow? It's a huge promise for sure.
It really is. We are going to distill the blueprint for transforming your health, your wealth, your success.
Your whole character, really.
Exactly. And the wildest part, we're talking about doing all of this before 8 a.m.
And we are diving deep into Hal Elrod's The Miracle Morning, which is, a global phenomenon at this point.
It really is. And the source material has some serious weight behind it. Robert Kiyosaki.
The Rich Dad, Poor Dad author.
That's the one.
Right.
He didn't just endorse it. He basically called Elrod a genius for taking centuries of personal development best practices.
And boiling them all down into one simple daily ritual.
And that ritual is built around these 6 daily practices he calls SAVERS.
Yeah, and Kiyosaki's point was so sharp. He said, look, plenty of people do one of these things.
Right, maybe they exercise. Or they read a little.
Exactly. But almost nobody was doing all 6 of them together consistently.
That's the key.
And the goal here is, it's way bigger than just feeling a bit less stressed.
Oh, absolutely. It's about escaping what Elrod calls the 95% reality.
It's about moving from settling for mediocrity, which is a word he really challenges.
And moving towards what he calls level 10 success.
Across everything, your finances, your happiness, your health. And the prerequisite for that level 10 life, you have to first become a level 10 person.
Okay, so let's get into the origin story here, because this system wasn't dreamed up on some kind of, relaxing retreat.
No, not at all. The source material is really clear that the whole thing came from a place of profound desperation.
Not just once either.
Twice. That trauma is really the engine behind the whole system. His first rock bottom, it hit him when he was just 20.
20 years old.
Yeah. He was hit head-on by a drunk driver going 70 miles an hour, we're talking. He was clinically dead for 6 minutes.
Wow.
Broke 11 bones, suffered permanent frontal lobe brain damage, and the doctors told him, he might never walk again.
It's an unimaginable tragedy. But the psychological part of the comeback is what's so incredible.
It's staggering. He defied all of that. He came back to life, and in the very next year, finished as the number 6 top producer in his company.
Out of how many?
Out of 60,000 sales reps. So, a true against all odds recovery, both physically and in his career.
But that's just rock bottom number 1.
And this is where it gets really interesting. Almost a decade later, around 2007, 2008, he hits rock bottom again.
But this time it's different.
Completely different. It wasn't physical, it was mental and financial. The economy crashed. His income just disappeared.
He racked up a ton of debt, right?
Over $425,000 in debt.
Yeah.
He became severely depressed, to the point where the only comfort he found was just staying in bed.
And he actually said this was harder.
He did. He said the mental and financial collapse was harder to overcome than the car crash.
That's profound. So how do you pull yourself out of that kind of invisible trauma?
Well, the breakthrough came during a run he didn't even want to go on. A friend, John Burkoff, convinced him to go.
And something just clicked.
Yeah. A Jim Rohn quote he'd heard years ago finally landed. Your level of success will rarely exceed your level of personal development.
The light bulb moment.
Total light bulb moment. He realized, I'm chasing level 10 success, but my own personal development is maybe at a level 2.
So the problem wasn't the economy. It wasn't the debt.
No. The problem was who he had stopped becoming.
And the solution was to get radically consistent.
Exactly. He decided, I have to dedicate time to this every single day, first thing.
Before life gets in the way.
Before any distractions or excuses could derail him, he guaranteed it would happen. And the change was so fast from broke and depressed to financially secure and actually excited about life in less than 2 months.
That he called it the miracle morning.
That's the name.
So that brings us to the whole philosophy behind it all. This painful 95% reality check.
Yeah, the stats are pretty grim. Only 5% of people actually achieve financial freedom by retirement.
And the rest of us,
Yeah.
the other 95%, we just sort of settle.
We settle for a life that's, a little less than what we're capable of. Maybe carrying some debt, a little overweight, slightly depressed.
So if you want to join that 5%, you have to understand the traps that the 95% keep falling into.
Right. And the sources point to 3 big mental blocks. The first one is called rear view mirror syndrome, RMS.
This is where you let your past define you.
Precisely. You let the failures, the limitations of your past dictate what you think is possible today. And if 95% of your thoughts are just recycled from yesterday,
You're stuck. You're in a loop.
you're completely stuck. The solution he offers is this mantra you have to adopt. My past does not equal my future.
I like that. So what's the second cause?
A lack of a compelling purpose. People just drift. They live day to day without a strong why.
And he's not necessarily talking about finding some grand life-altering mission right away.
No, not at all. He says you can start small. Just choose a purpose. Be the most dedicated person at your job. Be the most present parent you can be.
Any purpose creates that forward momentum.
It does. And the third block, which you mentioned it earlier, it's so insidious, is isolating incidents.
Right. The little lies we tell ourselves, that skipping one workout doesn't matter.
Or procrastinating on that one project. Or eating that one bad meal.
But it's a total delusion.
It is, because every single one of those choices is a vote. It's a vote for the person you're becoming. He hammers home that idea. How you do anything is how you do everything.
So if you hit the snooze button...
You're literally training yourself to be someone who lacks discipline. You're becoming that person.
Okay, that's the perfect bridge. If those small actions define us, then the morning ritual is about guaranteeing we become the right person. So let's get into the practical side. The SAVERS.
The savers. This is the how. It's 6 daily practices, and they're designed to hit what he calls the 4 core dimensions of our being, the PIEs.
Right. Physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual.
You got it. And by doing these 6 things, you start to close that potential gap that I think we all feel inside.
So let's break them down, starting with the first S, silence.
5 minutes. This can be meditation. It can be prayer. Just focused breathing. It's for the spiritual and emotional part of the PIEs.
And there's a really critical piece of practical advice here.
There is, and it's so easy to overlook. You cannot stay in bed for this.
Get up. Get out of the room.
Yes. Go sit on the couch, a chair, anywhere else. That physical separation is crucial. It breaks the temptation to just fall back asleep and signals to your body that this is serious.
All right. A is for affirmations. 5 minutes.
This is where you start actively reprogramming your subconscious. It hits the intellectual and emotional PIEs.
Because your subconscious is just running these old, outdated programs on a loop.
Endlessly. So affirmations are these statements you design about who you want to be. He talks about his own self-limiting belief from the brain damage.
That he had a horrible memory.
Right. And he just replaces it with, my memory is improving every day.
But it can't just be wishful thinking, can it? What makes an affirmation actually work?
No, it needs teeth. The sources are clear. A powerful affirmation includes not just what you want, but why you want it. And, most importantly, who you are committed to being to get it.
And what you're committed to doing. It has to be an action plan.
It has to be an action plan, not just a nice thought.
Okay, next up is V, visualization. 5 minutes of mental rehearsal.
This is so powerful.
Yeah.
It works on the intellectual and emotional brain, training you for success before the day even starts.
We all know the Jim Carrey story, writing himself that $10 million check.
Sure, but think about elite athletes. They don't just visualize winning. They visualize the painstaking execution of the perfect golf swing over and over.
So the visualization makes the difficult behavior feel more automatic when it counts.
That's it exactly. Then we have E exercise. 20 minutes. This is for the physical PIE.
And doing it first thing is key, right? Before the day gives you a million excuses not to.
Not just that. There's a synergy here. When you exercise first, you flood your brain with blood flow and oxygen. That neurochemical boost actually primes your mind, making the affirmations and visualization that come after
Much more powerful.
far more potent and effective. You're changing your physical state to optimize your mental work.
That's a great insight. Okay, R is for reading. 20 minutes.
The ultimate fast track to knowledge. He says, commit to just 10 pages a day. Do that, and you'll get through about 18 200-page personal development books a year.
That's a massive intellectual advantage over time.
A radical advantage. And he also stresses rereading important books to achieve mastery, not just skimming them once for new ideas.
And finally, the second S, scribing.
Journaling. 5 minutes to capture ideas, get some emotional clarity, and just document your progress.
This is for the emotional and intellectual PIEs.
Absolutely. And he talks about this amazing benefit of looking back at old entries. He calls it the back to the future moment.
Right, because you see how far you've come.
You see how far you've come, which creates this profound sense of gratitude.
Yeah.
And that reinforces the habit. It's also where you capture lessons learned and set new commitments. It accelerates everything.
Okay, I know what people are thinking, especially parents with young kids or anyone with an early commute. An hour-long routine, that's a non-starter for me.
And he gets that. There's flexibility. He created something called the 6-minute miracle morning for those emergency days.
So what's the strategy there?
It's simple. You just dedicate 1 minute to each savor. 1 minute of silence, read a page or two, 60 seconds of jumping jacks. The goal is consistency over volume.
Just keep the chain going.
Keep the habit alive no matter what.
What about weekends? Is it mandatory 7 days a week, or can you take a rest day?
The author really advises against it. He found that when he slept in on weekends, he just felt lethargic, unfocused, and unproductive.
So the momentum is too important to take a 2-day break.
He believes so. Better to do a short version than nothing at all.
Let's talk about making this stick, because we all know how easy it is to start a new habit and how hard it is to maintain it. The 30-day mastery plan.
This is his roadmap for that. It breaks down the 30 days into 3 predictable phases. Phase 1, that's days 1 through 10, is unbearable.
This is the hard part, the highest resistance.
This is when you want to quit the most. And surviving it requires really 2 things. 1, knowing that this pain is temporary. And 2, having some external accountability. Tell people what you're doing.
Phase 2, days 11 to 20, is uncomfortable.
Yeah, you're building momentum, but it still takes real conscious effort and commitment.
And then the final phase.
Phase 3, days 21 to 30, is unstoppable. This is the magic part. It's where your brain starts to associate pleasure with the routine itself.
You go from forcing yourself to do it to actually looking forward to it.
Exactly. And that positive reinforcement is what cements the habit for good.
So what this all really means for you, listening right now, the core message is that you are committing to becoming that level 10 person.
The person you need to be to create that extraordinary life you say you want.
And if you're serious about this, he offers a very high-impact strategy. He calls it the email that will change your life.
This one is intense. It involves emailing a bunch of people in your life, friends, family, colleagues.
And asking for brutally honest, constructive criticism.
Your top 2 or 3 areas for improvement. It's a huge act of vulnerability.
It's a huge risk. I mean, those answers could really hurt.
They absolutely could. But the source says the payoff is just massive. Elrod said he gained more self-awareness in 1 week from those responses than in the previous 5 years combined.
Because it gives you a crystal clear roadmap of your blind spots, the exact things you need to work on in your affirmations and your scribing.
Immediately.
To kind of bring this all home, Elrod once ran a 52-mile ultramarathon. He went from hating running to finishing this insane race. And he said the real freedom wasn't crossing the finish line.
No, it was the mental liberation. The freedom from his own self-imposed limitations and his self-doubt.
That is the ultimate takeaway here. Freedom isn't something you're just given.
It is earned by overcoming the limits you place on yourself today.
So we'll leave you with this challenge. What is your self-imposed limitation? What is that one crucial thing you must commit to doing now before 8 a.m. to achieve your own personal freedom? Because if a man who was clinically dead, massively in debt, and told he'd never walk again can do it,
then the principle holds true for all of us. If he can do it, so can we.